everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with a brand new speed build, this time doing another suburban style home. So this is Rosewood Lane. It's a 5-bed, 3-bathroom build set on a 40 by 30 lot in Willow Creek, and it comes in at just less than 210,000 simoleons. So initially I decided that I wanted to build a kind of medium-sized house, and I picked this particular lot, which is the 40 by 30 lot in Willow Creek, and it's at the very top of the map. And I really love these particular lots because they are so bright and they've got such beautiful kind of greenery all the way around. And I thought, I'm going to pick this particular lot and I'm going to build like a nice medium-sized home. But it actually ended up being quite big. And it wasn't the plan, but it was one of those houses that when I was building it, it kind of felt like it wasn't going to be as big as it actually was. And it did turn out to be 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So there was a lot of space in this particular house. So I decided to go ahead and build this sort of L-shaped house. It wasn't completely L-shaped. It just kind of had this garage which was attached to the front of the house. And the other day, me and my daughter, we were having a little look on Google Maps, and I really love kind of flicking through Google Maps and thinking of different places in the world, or just literally spinning the world around and just dropping the little dropper anywhere in the world just to have a little nosy around. I mean, once upon a time, many moons ago, in order to really kind of have a look at a city or somewhere different in the world, you'd have to kind of have a look through books or maybe visit the place. And now we just have the ability from the comfort of our own homes to just kind of drop a guy down anywhere in the world, and as long as the little Google van's been there, we can really have a good look round. So we ended up all over the place, and the really good thing about it is it's a great place for inspiration, especially if you're wanting to build a house with a particular style or from a particular area. To be able to drop this little tool down and just kind of wander around the streets and really look at the architecture, it's a really good source of inspiration. So as we were kind of wandering around and exploring the world, we came across I think it was in Brooklyn in New York, and we were looking around some of the suburban areas, and I noticed there was quite a lot of houses which kind of had a garage which was attached to the very front of the house. And this is actually a style which is used quite a lot in modern builds in the UK at the moment, and so I decided that I wanted to kind of implement it into my next build and see what I could come up with. So unfortunately, garages are still really redundant in The Sims 4. We don't have the use of cars, but it doesn't mean that we can't be creative and, you know, attach them to our houses, because there are so many houses in the world that do have garages. So I kind of like experimenting and messing around, and sort of that's the beauty of The Sims 4, is it's really letting your imagination run wild and sort of being as creative as you can possibly be. So in this particular one, sometimes I create garages and, you know, I fill them with lots of junk, lots of counters, skill building items, but this particular time I decided to convert it into quite a big gym. And I have to say, even though I build a lot of big houses a lot of the time, I always forget to really add a gym in, or like gym equipment. And I do think it's quite important, because I was actually thinking about this the other day. Whenever I create a family, and I tend to play female, so I'll have like a female character, you know, and she'll end up meeting somebody and they'll go on to have children. Whenever my female sim has a child, she immediately puts weight on. It's like, it's a bit stereotypical, you know, but yeah, she just piles that weight on as soon as she's given birth. So I always end up having to invest in some sort of treadmill and put her on some kind of salad diet, and, you know, she ends up losing a bit of weight. So the fitness elements are kind of important in The Sims, and there's also a lot of careers which, you know, you need to use your fitness skill for. So I kind of thought it makes sense to put this downstairs gym into the house. So I did go ahead and use some kind of Tudor inspired get together wallpapers for the outside of the house, but I wouldn't say that this house was built to be specifically a Tudor house. It's more kind of for decoration, and we have these styles of houses over here in the UK as well that tend to use use the kind of Tudor style wallpapers, but they're just not Tudor houses. They're definitely not the traditional Tudor shape houses, but I really like them. I feel like they add a lot of character and warmth to the house, and obviously it does kind of have a little bit of an autumnal vibe, even though I built this house in the summer. So the actual landscaping of the house is quite simple really, and I wanted to keep it kind of nicely manicured, but I did want to kind of save a lot of open space as well, because I feel like a lot of the time in the landscaping that I do, I tend to sort of fill up every area of the lot with lots of skill building items or activities or plants or trees, and this time I kind of wanted to keep a fair bit of open space so that if you were to download this house, then you had plenty of room to kind of add in whatever you wanted to into the build. So ordinarily when it comes to 40 by 30 lots, I kind of like using the wider 40 by 30 lots because I like building a lot of wider kind of long houses as opposed to kind of deeper houses. I don't know if that even makes sense, but this was a 40 by 30 lot which was a lot longer, and the good thing about using these ones is that once you've built the house you tend to be left with a lot of space in the front and the back to create some nice sort of front and back gardens. So there was a lot of outdoor space with this build. Now although I did keep a lot of open space, I still did go ahead and add a few items in. So we've got planters around the back as well as a beekeeping box, and there's also a barbecue area, but I did go ahead and add in a telescope as well. Now the telescope in The Sims 4 is absolutely massive, and whenever I come to use it I never quite find the right build to fit it in, and it's just so big. Like I really wish that The Sims would bring out a much smaller version, you know, like a handheld telescope, because I don't know how that would work, but I just feel like it would be a lot easier to place it and use it than it would be to use this absolutely massive one. However, obviously sometimes there is a need for a telescope, and so yeah, I had this big open space on the lawn and I just decided to smack one down at the end. So it actually feels like forever since I did a voiceover or a video, and it was actually only, I think it was about 5 days ago now. I think it was last Friday when I uploaded, but I've had such a busy week. I feel like most of my weeks are quite busy anyway, but all of my kids were back to school this week, and obviously we had lots of preparation for Halloween, and it is indeed Halloween today, so we'll be doing trick-or-treating later on when the kids finish school. And yeah, it's just kind of been a bit of a busy week getting back into the routine and getting up early. We have actually had daylight savings in the UK as well, so our clocks went back an hour, and even though it's an hour, ordinarily most people don't really notice, but if you have kids you definitely do. So the thing that I absolutely love about daylight saving is that it's dark at night. So currently it's going dark at around about, I'd say 4:30, 4:45, and it's obviously going back quite a lot. So by the end of the week, it'll be around about 4:15, it goes dark, which is so early, but I really love it because it just feels really cozy and it reminds me of Christmas. However, there is a downside to it, and the downside was Sunday, because obviously the kids, they've got a body clock and they're used to getting up at a certain time, and that time is normally around about 7 to 7:30. So when I woke up on Sunday and I could hear the kids awake and it was still dark outside, and I looked down at the clock and it was actually 6:30 in the morning, I was thinking, this is the downside to daylight savings. So yeah, it's been kind of getting the kids used to that extra hour, and or you know, just sort of readjusting the body clocks. So needless to say, I've been absolutely shattered this week. I've been so tired, and in actual fact this build was finished last night, and I sat down at around about 8 o'clock and I came to do the voiceover, and it was still really early, but I was so tired, and I think I got something like like 10 minutes into the voiceover and I listened to it back and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to go to bed and do it tomorrow because I just sounded like, oh, like really tired. So yeah, I've saved it for today. But just coming back to the build, I decided to bring a lot of the darker woods that were used on kind of like the Tudor style wallpapers on the outside of the build to the inside. So I used a lot of kind of dark wooden frames as well as stairs, furniture, flooring. You know, there was a lot of dark tones, but it was very, very neutral overall downstairs. So in the downstairs area of this build, we've got a kitchen, a separate dining room, 2 reception rooms, a downstairs bathroom, as well as quite a big gym that the garage was converted into. And even though that sounds quite a lot, I would say this house was quite playable. The rooms aren't absolutely massive, and the same goes for upstairs. Even though it is a 5-bed, 3-bathroom build, I'd say all the rooms were probably a very average size. There was none that were absolutely huge. So, you know, it's quite a nice sized house really for a large house. So I did go ahead and add in plenty of activities and skill building items to the inside as well. One of the things I didn't actually add was a piano to this build. Now, I'm pretty sure in every single one of my builds, I always add in a piano somewhere throughout the lot. And the reason for that is because when I'm building, I always use a tester sim, and the tester sim is placed onto the lot just so that I can readjust the lighting. For instance, these chandeliers that are used and the ones on the wall have a very kind of yellowish tone, and depending on the style of build that I'm building, a lot of the time I like to just kind of whiten that up so it looks a little bit more modern and less kind of castle-y like, if that was even a word, which it wasn't, but I know what I mean. So yeah, I use a tester sim, and whenever I use a tester sim on the lot, I always place down a piano and sit the tester sim at it. And so a couple of times in collaborations in the past, I've forgotten all about this piano, and people have messaged me like, is this supposed to be in the build? Because there's a huge piano in the middle of the build, and it's literally just where I place my tester sim. But this time, the reception rooms were quite a lot smaller than maybe what I'm used to doing. And I know in this particular reception room, which is the second one, it had kind of double patio doors at the back as well, so it made it kind of awkward to fit one in. Believe me, I did try to fit one in. So I decided to just leave it out. But there's loads of skill building items in this build, from musical instruments to PCs and kids kind of art tables. There's lots and lots going on. So overall, I'd say a lot of my bigger builds tend to be around the 300,000 simoleon mark, and this one actually came in at 210,000 simoleons, which was nearly 100,000 less than what I'd normally spend. Now, it wasn't done to a budget, and it obviously wasn't using restricted packs either, so I was quite surprised with the amount that it was. But I think it's maybe because I was a little bit less detailed on the outside and left a lot more open space. Who knows? But I'm just finishing off the downstairs now before moving on to the upstairs. So there is 5 bedrooms and there is 2 bathrooms in the upstairs of this build. With the bedrooms, I did inject a lot more colour. I tend to do that anyway because a lot of the time I will create children's rooms, and no one needs a neutral children's room. Like, unless it's a baby, you know, kids need colour. That's my theory on it anyway. So I did go a little bit mad with one of the girls' rooms, which was really quite bright, but I like the way that it came out. And I was kind of thinking for the next build that I do, I think I'm going to do something which has got a lot of colour in it. But this is what I'd probably say was the master bedroom. Now, there is another double room as well, which is fairly kind of plain. And in my mind, when I did that particular room, I was kind of imagining that it would be maybe a guest room. But in the upstairs of this build, we've got a master bedroom, a guest double bedroom, which is the one that I'm working on now. We've also got kind of like a double room, which is probably for like a teen girl, and then there's a twin girls room, as well as I think it's a single boys room. So I didn't actually add in anything for toddlers or babies into this build, but if you did want to, then there's plenty of space to do that. So I am going to be looking at doing some renovations, which I've been talking about for several videos now. I'm going to be doing a renovation series where I'll probably cover some EA homes, but predominantly I'll be renovating your home. So if you want to take part, you can literally submit a house that you've built and you just want me to do something with it, or you can, you know, specifically build a kind of rundown home which you want me to kind of renovate into something nice. So the hashtag for that I will put in the description box below, but it'll be hashtag simkim reno, RENO, obviously short for renovation. And you know, feel free to submit something onto the gallery. I can't promise that I will do, you know, every single build that's submitted, but I'll certainly have a go at doing as many of them as I can, and you know, I'll be featuring them slowly but surely over the coming weeks. So I'm just finishing off this twin girls room at the moment, which could be for a teen girl or a child. It's entirely up to you, but it was super bright and I ended up changing up the pink wallpaper for kind of like a teal blue. But this is one of the last bedrooms and it's just a very small single boys room. So there's loads of room in this build and there are actually beds to sleep 9 Sims, I think it is, something like that. So if you had 8 Sims in the home and you had guests over to sleep as well, there's room for everybody. But I'm really looking forward to the free update, which is coming anytime now. And obviously we've got Get Famous, which is being released on the 16th of November. So there's lots of exciting things coming up, which I'm really looking forward to. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, please give me a big thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, it would be amazing to have you on board. But I hope you have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. And I'll look forward to seeing you in my next build. So take care, guys. Bye.
I feel my heart is going full speed, I can't control it, can't keep up with the rhythm of it all. Is this all an illusion? 'Cause I'm getting deluded, can't keep up with the rhythm of it all. I gotta figure it out right now, 'cause I know what you need. You want only the best and nothing but the best from me. I gotta figure it out right now, 'cause I know what you need. You want only the best and nothing but the best from me.